Nico Imaliava no longer slinging the rock around Knoxville as the quarterback had his high-profile departure to UCLA well documented. Now the question at fall camp is who is set to succeed Imaliava post-transfer portal drama. Josh Heupel will have a new signal caller running his offense this fall, and he'll have a trio of candidates to choose from. And they all feature something different: a quarterback swap with the Bruins, a familiar face on campus, and a true freshman. All right, let's bring in Patrick Brown, 24/7 Sports, Chip Patterson from the Cover 3 podcast with an eye on the Tennessee Volunteers. And Patrick, I'm going to give you first word. What is the word in terms of QB1 post-Nico?
Well, Tommy, Tennessee is looking at a quarterback competition going into the season between those three guys that you just highlighted there. Joey Aguilar was at UCLA in the spring after transferring from Appalachian State. Nico commits to UCLA. He hops in the portal the next day. Tennessee had swung and tried with some sitting Power 4 established quarterbacks. Didn't really get anywhere. So when the Aguilar door opened, they took that one. And they're getting a guy with 2 years of starting experience, which is a big difference from what they have coming back. Jake Merklinger, a redshirt freshman, was going to be the backup this season. He was the number 3 last season. Really only played about 30 snaps in a couple of his appearances late last season. So it's the classic debate of experience against inexperience. And Aguilar got here middle of last month. He's jumped into workouts starting this month and been throwing with his wide receivers. So he's a veteran guy, but he's having to sort of squeeze an entire offseason here into just a couple of months before they open preseason camp here in a few weeks. And he's got to learn the offense. He's got to learn his teammates. He's got to earn their respect in the locker room. And but I think Josh Heupel sees some upside in him, sees some traits that can translate to his offense. He's got to cut down on the interceptions after throwing 24 picks over the past 2 seasons in the Sun Belt. So got to see how he handles the jump to the SEC there. But Aguilar is a guy that Josh Heupel thinks still has some room he can grow. And certainly with that offense, they're going to try to see what he can do and let him run a little bit and make some plays and see if he can get this passing game going in the right direction after some struggles the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, Patrick hit it right on the head right there. I can already tell you that, especially because he's coming in late, because he was not part of the plan for months and months, the one thing that Joey Aguilar can do that will either win him or lose him this QB1 job is going to be about taking care of the football. Because when we've seen Joey Aguilar at his best at App State, playing against good competition, not SEC competition, but good competition in the Sun Belt, he can be very prolific. A lot of yards and, yes, a lot of touchdowns. But just as Patrick noted, so too are the interceptions. If I'm a coach who maybe hasn't talked himself into a quarterback just yet, when you've got 2 other players that you scouted, that you recruited, and that you developed, you might be willing to trade off that experience edge if he's turning the ball over too much. The flip side of that, what a great opportunity for Joey Aguilar. You were slated to be the quarterback at UCLA with a lot of pressure and responsibility. At Tennessee, you've got a better team around you. You've got a quarterback-friendly system. If he can take care of the ball, this could be a great year individually for the new transfer from App State and UCLA.
In terms of roster composition, we know a lot of players in, a lot of players out, which most top programs do deal with. But Patrick, in terms of staying on the offensive side of the ball, what questions still remain about making this a high-octane unit that we've come accustomed to with Josh Heupel?
Well, the big questions, Tommy, are 2 position groups in particular. That's the offensive line, where Tennessee has to replace 4 starters, and wide receiver, where they're just wildly inexperienced. They've got a lot of talent there, a lot of recruiting stars next to those guys' names, but really just haven't seen them play a lot of football. Starting on the offensive line, though, the good news is you're going to have 2 probably 5-star offensive tackles. Lance Hurd was a transfer from LSU, started most of the season on the left side last season as a sophomore, had some ups and downs, played through some injuries. There's been some good talk about him this offseason. And then on the other side, you've got David Sanders Jr., a 5-star freshman. Freshmen are always tricky on the offensive line, but Sanders was the number 3 offensive tackle recruit in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. He looks the part of a 5-star. And then they went out and got a couple of guys in the transfer portal you guys just highlighted there. Wendell Moy at Arizona was a 2-year starting guard. He should plug in right away. And then they went to Notre Dame and got Sam Pendleton, a guy who could play guard or center potentially, where Tennessee is replacing all-SEC center Cooper Mays. So they went out and got some experience. They're going to need some new guys to step up there, some young guys to step up there. But that youth is nothing compared to wide receiver, where they only have 7 scholarship guys, and 4 of them have never taken a snap in a college game. You've got 3 freshmen there, and Amari Jefferson, who came over as a transfer from Alabama, who did not play last season for the Crimson Tide. So they need Mike Matthews, a former 5-star guy, to step up and really play like a number 1 guy. Chris Brauzell was a pretty highly touted transfer from Tulane who had some ups and downs last season, really, as the entire receiving core did. And then Braylon Staley in the slot. If he can stay healthy, he's got a chance to be really productive, some of the guys that they've cranked through that position under Josh Heupel. But this offense really, particularly in the passing game, outside of Dante Thornton, who was a fourth-round pick of the Raiders, really lacked explosiveness in the passing game. They were inefficient, particularly in some of their big games. So you've got a new quarterback, whoever it is, whether he's new to the system or new in general, if it's one of the other guys. You need some receivers to help step up and make some plays for him down the field, and you need the guys up front to protect them and give the offense some balance with the run game as well.
I would assume, Patrick, questions on the other side of the ball, not as many as the offense here. How repeatable do we think this unit can be here in 25?
Well, I don't think there's going to be too much of a drop-off. Tennessee, I think, was 5th nationally in yards per play allowed, 7th in scoring defense. It was their best scoring defense, I think, since the 1998 National Championship season. They lose James Pierce Jr., going to the first round of the NFL draft to the Falcons, Omar Norman-Lott to the second round to the Chiefs. Those are their top 2 pass rushers, so I think that's a big question. Can they find those guys up front that can impact the quarterback, that can get after the passer and make things easier there? Tennessee was really good on third down, and to be good on third down, you need to have that front wreaking havoc and making plays. Joshua Joseph is a guy that took a big jump last season. I want to see if he can continue and become a better pass rusher. Not a lot of sacks in his career so far. And we'll see if they can get some interior guys to step up as well. The other big question for me on defense is really an injury-related one. It's Jermon McCoy, the all-SEC cornerback, who was excellent as a transfer portal steal from Oregon State a year ago. He tore his ACL in January. He's progressed pretty well throughout this offseason. They're hopeful he can come back early part of the season, maybe before midway. So if they can get him back, that secondary shores up really well, and they have a chance to be just as good as they were last season. Yeah, dominant at times. I mean, 10 of the 13 opponents, I think, scored 20 or fewer points against this Vols team. You combine that with the offense. Chip, if I bring you back into the conversation with Josh Heupel's coming off the 3-7 year. When she took over, they were, 37-15 since. Where does he rank in program history countrywide for you? And then what are your expectations of this Vols team this season?
Yeah, program history, I think he's already the best since Phil Fulmer. You know, he jumped ahead of Butch Jones in terms of number of games coached this past season. He's won, 71% of his games overall, 63% of his conference games. I just think that we are talking about someone who has very quickly been able to set a very high floor, because even in seasons where everything doesn't click, which I would say last season probably falls into that category, you still made the college football playoff and you still won 10 games. Some of that because of an advantageous schedule, which sets up for a very interesting 2025, because they have many of the same opponents that made last year an advantageous schedule. They have so many questions, as we have detailed here, about the offensive side of the ball at basically every position on the depth chart. But daggum, that defense looks good. They bring back so much from last year's group that I think, again, we are talking about a team that rolls out of bed, ties its shoes, and wins 7 or 8 games just because of the defense alone. I'll give them another one here, but as you see, I've got 9-3, but not a 9-3 that can get you to the college football playoff, because it's a 9-3 where they beat the teams they should beat, but they also lose to the teams that might be able to be a quality win. So another good high floor season is my prediction, just not one where they're contending for the national title.
That would be losses at home to Georgia, then on the road to Alabama and Florida. Chip, Patrick, guys, certainly appreciate it. Thanks for the conversation on the Tennessee Volunteers. Chip Patterson, one of the co-hosts of the Cover 3 podcast. Make sure you scan the QR code. I think Bud Elliott's still doing his summer school series, so make sure you check them out ASAP.